Welcome to the Comeback Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Blake, and I'm doing another single today. We're going to talk about how to have healthy habits on eating versus perfectionism. And this is tying into our monthly kind of theme, which is really eating healthy on the go. So I'm going to start today's podcast with a question, and then I'll give you a story of where this question came from. The question is this: if you were not allowed to food prep, and you were not allowed to go to the grocery store and get all kinds of food, and you had to eat out, do you think you could have a healthy week if you were not allowed to food prep for the week and you were not allowed to go to the grocery store and get a bunch of food? The reason I asked this question is because there are going to be times in life where it's not perfect. You didn't get to have your weekend food prep sesh, and now the week has come, and what are you going to do? And this is why I believe, and our coaches believe, in teaching habits first versus making someone count all their calories, all their macros, but learning actual habits. I think you could have a pretty healthy week eating out if you made good choices, knowing and being educated in food, what you needed when you needed it, and then drinking plenty of water, moving, and doing other really healthy things like getting your sleep and not, binge eating at night. Most people could do fairly well if they have the right habits for that. But what happens is, for a lot of people, they can do a very controlled, perfectionistic diet, get results, and then they fall off. I'm going to give you a quick story example. About 3 years ago, I had a lady come into the gym, and I was training her to go into one of the CrossFit classes. So I only got to have her for one session as I was doing the introduction before she jumped into class. And this lady told me, as I got to understand a little bit of her nutritional background and some of her fitness background, she had done a bodybuilding competition. Well, I had not known that you could typically do something that extensive and not hardly know anything about nutrition nor have good healthy habits. So I said to her, "Oh, well, you should know, some basic good principles on how to, eat healthy and things like that." And she said, "Actually, I don't." I said, "Really?" She said, "Yeah." She said, "I got super shredded. I just did exactly what the coach told me to do. And all I ate was fish and green beans for 6 weeks. And I hated my life, and I never wanted to eat any kind of diet with fish or green beans in it again." Well, here's the truth. You could really get lean and shredded just eating fish and green beans. You'll be miserable. I've actually done a diet similar to that before. It is pretty gnarly, and you'll lose all your micronutrients. Your brain will not be functioning very well. You'll have plenty of protein to keep muscle on, and you'll have just enough energy to kind of get through your task that day, but your brain will not be functioning very well, and you will not have a lot of dopamine hits or enjoying much of life, as this lady shared. So I learned in that moment that this lady really liked peanut butter crackers, was one of the things she loved eating, and chips and lots of snacking. And she really knew nothing about nutrition. So when I gave her like a basic 15-minute nutritional understanding of macronutrients, understanding principles of drinking enough water, understanding the principles of chewing your food, understanding the principles of having 80% of your diet at least be mostly whole foods, and those kind of things were like mind-blowing to her. And here's someone who got on stage in a competition for aesthetics, which is majority diet. So that story shows us the perfectionistic, locked in, perfect diet, don't need to think, right? A lot of clients will want this because it gives you quick results. The problem, though, is that, the old saying, I'm trying to teach you how to fish, not just give you a fish, right? The idea that I'm really trying to show you how to actually learn how to do this so that you become autonomous in your fitness. That's what we want to do at Comeback Athlete. So here's a couple of our principles to help you along this and why this is important, okay? So I wrote down a couple notes here. Number one, I really think it's just super important that you have the mindset of sustaining healthy habits. So it's the idea that this is really a big buzzword, but growth mindset, the idea that you're continuing to get better at nutrition. There is no arriving at a perfect nutrition. And a lot of times our bodies need to adapt. There have been diets that I have been very successful on. And then when I've gone back to those at a different season in life, I don't quite get the same success or feeling or energy levels or aesthetic that I was looking for on those diets. So there's an adaptability of trying to learn what's working for you now. Our bodies really need certain nutrients and certain amount of calories depending on the season, depending on the circumstance and the context. So there is no perfect diet. There really is a continuing to learn yourself. There's a continuing to grow in healthy habits. And there's a way of just trying to shoot from, worse to better. That's a term that I've used a lot on these podcasts, right? The second thing I would really suggest is celebrating small victories, or in a more masculine sense. I don't really like celebrate small victories, but that was the word that came to mind. But that sounds a little bit more like, my wife cheering on my children. And that's really cool and good for her, but I'm a little more masculine than that. I like to think of as stacking bricks, right? Would be the word I'd use. So we're stacking bricks every time we do this, and we're building something. And it's brick by brick, you get there. It's not, all of a sudden the house is just built. It is a process. And so enjoying that process and seeing those bricks get stacked and celebrating that it's a little bit bigger than it was just a little bit ago is important. So making sure that you stop and actually do that, really counting the wins, really kind of creates a momentum wheel to keep you going, right? And then if you see that it's working, right? So this is another thing I always do with clients that are remote clients inside the gym I work at, or remote clients that I work with offsite. I do something to show them in the first 30 to 90 days that there's some progress being made. Maybe it's that we do a weigh-in and a retest of a certain workout. We show that you've gotten faster, fitter, you can do more push-ups than you did before, or maybe it's an in-body scan and we show you that your aesthetics from last month to this month is you're down 2% body fat and you're up 3 pounds of muscle, right? Then what happens is that momentum going into the next 30, 90 days goes up a notch. Why? Because the client really believes in it now, right? You had enough faith to start the journey and do some of the things the coach was asking you to do. But now you're saying, wow, these habits really work. So now I believe in them. There's something I'm going to stick with. So that's where that's really important, is to just create those checkpoints, those markers of stepping back, evaluating brick by brick. We're building the house towards the goal. And we're celebrating those wins. All right. Third, I would shift away from all or nothing mentality and really start embracing a progress, right? So this is kind of back a little bit to similar to the first point, but it's a little different, right? I want you to think about not having the person who's, I asked a question earlier that was the first question on this podcast today, which was, could you have a healthy week without having to food prep? And if the answer is no, right, then it's kind of that all or nothing mentality, right? It's no, I can have a healthy week. I can have a week where I'm eating more whole foods. I found some places where I can get more rice and chicken or fish or some sweet potatoes or, a Chipotle or something that's better, right? Versus what happens a lot in the fitness industry is, there's seed oils over there. Can you believe that? You can't eat that. They cook in this kind of oil. Well, it's better than getting the protein bar, or it's better than getting maybe the smoothie with extra sugar in it. It's better than getting the Big Mac. And so all we're saying is it still healthy? Well, health is on a spectrum. And for some of us, we really get self-righteous in the health industry, and we try to act like, man, if you're not dialed in perfectly to your calories and macros, then what's the point? Just go completely haywire, right? Or if you're not eating perfectly whole foods grown from your own backyard with really rich, good soil that no one's ever grown anything on, it's like it's got some sort of thing that's going to kill you. Well, I got news for you. The only thing that's guaranteed in this life is taxes and death. So we're all going to die. The goal in health is to enjoy this life as much as possible for whatever that means for you. And enjoyment usually means we're not being sick, we're not in lots of pain, and we're usually functional to do the things we enjoy doing. So eating enough healthy, good foods that allows that to happen is the goal. And anything that binds your conscience or makes you feel overwhelmed, or any of the other things that these health influencers can do. And if I've done it, I'm sorry, forgive me, but we need to revamp that. We need to revitalize that. We need to reform that in the health and fitness industry so that people are feeling more freedom to grow and get better versus feeling like, man, I'm eating crap because I had a protein bar today, right? And I just poo-pooed on a protein bar just a second ago, but I was doing it in a spectrum from worse to better, right? So all I'm saying is that if someone says Chipotle is really terrible, I would say, I think I'm doing better than the Big Mac, right? We say, well, the Big Mac's terrible. Well, I'm doing better than starving myself, right? And it was the only thing we had. That's something. So it's not all or nothing. And it is a next weekend, maybe you can food prep. Maybe you couldn't get it this week, but you'll get it next week. And this week we're going to survive and do the best we can, right? So that's really huge. And just making sure that you're not throwing it all in, like kind of what I call it, hit the F it button. And it's like, if I can't do it perfect, I'm just not going to do it all, right? If I didn't get to the gym on Monday, I'll just wait till next Monday. It's like, no, show up Tuesday. So get after it. And then the last thing, the fourth thing, is really embracing consistency over perfection. Just try to get a little bit more consistent at it. So I didn't get there Monday, get there Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday this week. Perfect. You had 3 days. Do 3 days for as long as you can. A great rule I got from John Berardi when I took my precision nutrition class or certification a couple years ago was, if the client can't do a 9 out of 10 on the thing that they're being asked to do, they shouldn't do it. And the reason is because they won't be consistent at it. So I asked a client this morning, I said, I prescribed a nutrition plan. I had everything set. They got excited about it. And then I follow up with, how 1 out of 10, how consistent do you think you'll be with this? And they said 7. And that was a red flag to me. They thought that was great. They thought that'd be really good. I said, where are the, extra 3 points that we're looking for off? And she gave some really great answers into her life that would make it very challenging. So what we did was we pulled it back to make it feel like it's more sustainable and consistent for her, because consistency is the best diet program, the one that you can be the most consistent on. So you're traveling, you're busy, have all these things. Life is going to hit in all kinds of different ways. The goal is to try to get a little bit more consistent every week without having a shame built-in perfectionistic ideology. So allow yourself grace, allow yourself to eat a little bit better, and then try to be thankful for the food that you do have so that it's nourishing, and don't overindulge in it, right? Set yourself up. So what do I mean by healthy habits and setting yourself up? And we'll conclude on this. Healthy habits are like the foundation of what we're trying to really get good at, right? The foundation is this. It's making sure you're doing the principles that everyone has to do that is really good. Sleep enough. Get enough movement in. So I always give some numbers, because numbers are just good to have to think about being in the right ballpark, but it doesn't have to be perfect. But I say 8 to 10,000 steps a day, right? That's a good ballpark. How do you calculate that? If you don't have a watch, then just do a timer. Go for at least 30 minutes of walking a day, something around that. Okay. Do you have to do that all at once? No. I prescribed a lady one time who was just having a really hard time getting movement in, not a really great athlete, doesn't love the gym. And I made her have a fitness program where she had to get up and walk every 5 minutes at work. And I said, if you do that within the 7 hours of your day, if you walked 5 minutes a day, you would just get all your steps in while at work and probably work better. And so she loved it. She did that for a month and she had a lot of success on that. So it's just strategizing and finding ways to get those principles implemented in your day. How does it work for you? So 8 to 10,000 steps, That for me means I walk with my clients after a workout in the morning. I'll get a 400-meter walk in with a couple of them. And so I'll have maybe 3 or 4 sessions there. I've gotten maybe 15 minutes of walking there. And then after dinner every night, I try to walk with my wife for 15, 20 minutes and catch up and just talk and listen to her. And then we're getting about 30 minutes of walking in every day right there on top of workouts or whatever other movement I had that day. That's enough for me, right? What works for you? We have to figure that out. Water. Drinking enough water, half your body weight in ounces a day, is typically a good rule of thumb. Drinking a little bit more depending on the climate you're in, maybe a little bit less depending on how much other liquids you're taking in, or if you have a small bladder or all that kind of stuff, that matters. But typically, most research shows that 50% is really good. Another great principle. Here's another one. Fruits and vegetables are typically really good for us. Okay, there's a bunch of health and fitness people out there who say vegetables are terrible for you. They're so bad, right? There's other people who say there's too much sugar in fruit, all this kind of stuff. Let's be honest. Typically, these things are really good for us, and they've been a staple for most healthy diets throughout all of human life. So let's just not get too arrogant that we're too good for vegetables or fruits. Try it. If you find that certain vegetables or fruits irritate you, and you have done a food journal and noticed this is consistent every time I eat this food, it bothers me, then take that out, right? But that's a little bit more of a trial and error versus I heard something on TikTok and now I'm not doing it. So let's just be a little bit more open that, hey, this stuff has really worked for people, and I probably am not too good for fruits and vegetables. Second thing, as long as you're not a vegan or have some sort of health problem with it, eating real meat every day, right? There are really good minerals and vitamins and protein that we need from animal foods. So eggs, chicken, meat, fish, right? These are really great things to eat. Trying to eat them less processed, with less sugar on them, with less, fried meats. That is a move from worse to better. So trying to have less of those things in it and eating them doesn't mean you can't have some sort of condiments in them or things like that. But yeah, making sure. I love mustard. I put mustard all over a lot of my chicken and stuff. People think I'm gross. My kids make fun of me. I don't really care. It's what I enjoy. What works for you, we'll figure it out. Here's the key. Be consistent. Have healthy habits. Have a general sense of nutrition and knowledge so that you can survive without having to always be perfect in your food prep. Matter of fact, people who can be more flexible in their diet have a longer lasting health and usually have more success over the long term. Why? Someone who can do a crash course diet, gets super healthy for 6 months, look awesome, and then kind of falls off, right? Versus the person who's steady Eddie for 2, 3, 4 years. That person in both fitness, health, aesthetically is going to have the habits to do that forever and really enjoy it, and it works, right? They can go to the wedding, have a couple drinks, eat cake, and enjoy themselves, and come back on Monday and get back after a normal, healthy habit life that gives them more freedom to enjoy their body and their life. That's the goal. So if you're interested ever in joining one of our coaches or want to sign up with someone and have them help you walk through this, we do this very extensively at Comeback Athlete. We have a coach who will do habit training with you. We do bi-weekly phone calls or video calls with you. And then we do daily check-ins Monday through Friday where we do a fitness program that's geared towards you. And you have a coach who holds you accountable and will respond and challenge you and create programs to help you continue to build towards your goal. We also have a doctor on staff that does labs and blood work so that we can know more specifically what irritates you, what supplements you might need, and what kind of training you actually might need based on where your body is currently at on its labs. And then lastly, we have a mindset coach that meets with us once a month who is a professional who works with professional athletes in the NFL. And Joe does a great job helping taking our minds and helping us create a situation where we can be more successful based on how we approach hard things in life. Obstacles are not going away. Challenges are not going away. How we do diet, health, and all those things are not going away. having a coach and then other coaches, a team of coaches at Comeback Athlete, help you become the best healthy version of you, will help you look, feel, and move like an athlete again. So if you're interested in that, head on over to comebackathlete.com and you can get on our application and check out our website and sign up to get on a phone call with one of our coaches and start today. We will have more content like this coming out. Next month, we are starting our mindset month. And so we're going to be interviewing some mindset coaches that have influenced our company or also work with our company. And we'll be giving you guys some really good things to try to get ready for the new year.